Hi there, I'm glad you found my YouTube tutorial about OpenType features. My name is Ulrike Rausch and I'm a type designer specializing in handwriting fonts, and together we will dedicate some of our time now on OpenType features. So in the next 15 something minutes you will learn what OpenType features are, what they're useful for, and how you can enrich your typographic designs using OpenType features. You've probably heard about the OpenType font format with the ending OTF, right? So this format allows us type designers to store over 60,000 characters in a font file. That's a lot. And a look at an ordinary keyword might raise the question of how to use all of these characters, because there is not a key for each one of them on it, right? Just think about figures. You can have lining figures, old style figures, superior and inferior figures. So you've probably all seen all of these different styles for the numbers in publications or on websites. But if you take a look now on your keyboard that's right in front of you, you'll find only one set of numbers. So do you need a huge special keyboard like this one in order to access all characters in a font? Of course not. Many of the characters in an OpenType font are accessible for the user through intelligent substitution mechanisms, and these substitution mechanisms tell the software, like Adobe InDesign for example, when a character should be inserted and when not. So the user of the font does not have to select and place the characters themselves. And these substitution mechanisms are called OpenType features. Probably the most prominent example of OpenType features is the letter sequence F and I, in which the ascender of the F often collides with the dot of the I. This problem is solved with an OpenType feature. So the type designer draws an FI ligature, which is a character that contains both letters but in an optimized way without the collision on top. And the OpenType feature code ensures that as soon as someone types F and I in a row, the two letters will be replaced by the one optimized character. And this happens completely automatic, since the ligature feature is active by default in almost all applications. I have two more examples I want to show you where this substitution is very important and therefore active by default in the design software. So one is connected script fonts. As you can see here, sometimes the connection to the next letter comes from the bottom, sometimes letters connect on top, and sometimes on the baseline. So depending on the word you want to write, you need different alternates for each letter, and each one of them has a connection on a different position. But of course it's not enough that I, as a type designer, add all these alternatives with the different positions of the connecting strokes to the font. I also have to write a short code that gives the design software instructions which connection variant of the letter, so depending on the previous letter basically, it should use. A similar concept can be seen in handwriting fonts. As you know, when you take a pen and paper and write something, it is almost impossible to write two identical letters by hand. They would always look a little bit different. So in handwriting fonts, I try to simulate this irregularity by adding several versions of each letter that all look a little bit different. And an OpenType feature code helps to substitute the standard letter by their alternates. This happens usually through a kind of rotation mechanism in order to have as less repetitions of identical letter forms as possible. The feature taking care of this replacement, both in script fonts and in handwriting fonts, is called the contextual alternates feature, which is already activated by default, so you will get them automatically while you type. Okay, please stay with me. This was a bit technical background to explain you the awesomeness of OpenType features, but now I'm going to show you some cool examples. Alright, by now you know about ligatures and contextual alternates, but there are many more OpenType features that are super cool, but most of them have to be activated manually by the user. Okay, but where do I do that? Where do I find these cool OpenType features? I'm going to show you now several different ways to activate OpenType features in Adobe InDesign. No worries, we are coming to more applications later in this video. Okay, the first possibility to access the OpenType features is through the character panel. Because in the character panel there is actually an OpenType menu hidden here. And you can see all these entries for OpenType features. For example, the different styles for the numbers I mentioned at the very beginning. The contextual alternates, already checked because it's a feature that is active by default, right? But now let's click on discretionary ligatures. These type of ligatures are more decorative and playful than the standard ligatures. Of course, not all fonts on your computer have these type of ligatures. You can recognize that by checking if a feature is listed in square brackets or not. So when it is in square brackets, it's not supported in the font. Okay, the swashes here are not in brackets, so let's activate them. Nice. You should totally play around a bit and also check the other features in the fonts you have available on your computer. There is another important entry in the OpenType menu that I want to make you aware of. It's the stylistic sets. The stylistic sets allow Type Designer to add features to a font that are not listed in the standard OpenType menu. So all the entries that you see here in this level are always the same, they're always there. But in the stylistic sets, I can have my very own features, and I as a type designer can even give these features a custom name. So as you can see, this font has different styles for some letters. In this case it's a 1-story A, in case of this 2-story A, and this more reduced style for the G. Also the capital G has this stroke on the bottom as a stylistic version. Actually, a lot of fonts offer you different styles, so you can adjust the font to your specific needs. Okay, here are some more examples of custom features I added to the fonts. The first one is stacked ligatures. And what else do we have? Catchwords, also nice. One more thing I would like to show you. If you want a text to show only capital letters, some people just hold the Shift key while they type, but you could as well make use of an OpenType feature that does the work for you. If you click on all caps, you not only get the capital letters, you will also see that the punctuation moved a bit upwards to stand in the middle of the caps height, because these characters are usually optimized to stand right next to lowercase letters, and for this uppercase letters they sit way too low. So if you use the OpenType feature all caps, you will get automatically the optimized position for the capital letters. You can apply the same feature for my Liebe font here, because if you would typeset a word in all caps, since it's a connected script font, it would look gruselig, as I would say in German. That would be creepy translated to English. So the letter forms are way too curly to typeset them in all caps. So let's see what the all caps feature can do for us here. Okay, that looks much better, because I added these more reduced capital letters that are meant for an all caps headline, for example, and they are not connected but fit to the rest of the font anyway, because they were drawn with the same brush. Here is another possibility to apply an OpenType features to your text. If you select one letter, you will see this pop-up that shows you all the alternative versions of this specific letter, and you can directly select one of them and place them in your text. If you have a longer text, of course, you don't want to go through every single letter of the text. But this method is super useful for a logo design, for example, where you already have the letters and you can then optimize the letters for this specific arrangement. This method works not only for single letters, but you can even select whole words and see if there is an option for replacement. I'm going to activate one of the stylistic sets that was named catchwords. And then I get this decorative character. Again, not all fonts always have these decorative characters or stylistic alternatives for all characters, but please try out anyway. It's always worth selecting a letter or even a word and check the options the font offers you. But I promised you to show you several options to apply OpenType features. You only saw 2 ways until now, so here is the third option, and it may be my favorite one. You can access all the extra characters in a font through the glyphs panel. What's the glyphs panel, you're asking? Okay, go to Type in your menu and then click on glyphs. This panel shows you all the characters that a font contains. Everything that's in the font is right here in front of you. That's why I always encourage students, but also clients, to check the glyphs panel when they start working with a font they are not super familiar with yet, because it's a great way to explore the possibilities a font offers you. You can then directly click on one character and insert it in your text frame. And the glyphs panel even lets you filter. For example, let's have all the discretionary ligatures shown, and then it would only show all the discretionary ligatures in the font. But you can also apply a search here. So let's look out for all the ampersands in the font. Okay. Of course, there are many more applications than just Adobe InDesign that support OpenType features, and I'm going to show you some now. For example, let's go to Apple's Pages. If you hit Command T, the Type panel shows up, and there you can see this tiny dotted circle, and then you go to Typography. Now you will see a panel with all the possible OpenType features in this font. This is Affinity Designer, and Affinity, by the way, is actually a great alternative to Adobe products. But what I really love here is that once you hit Command-Shift-T, you will get this OpenType panel where you can activate and deactivate all the features. But the cool thing is the panel shows you only the features that are actually in the font. That makes it way more clear, I think. And you also get a tiny preview how your text would look like with a certain feature applied. And Affinity also has a glyphs panel that shows you all the characters a font contains, only that it's called Glyph Browser in Affinity. Let's move to the next application, which is Microsoft Word. Unfortunately, there are no features active by default. They have to be turned on manually, so no ligatures here and no contextual alternates. All the E look exactly the same. But you can get the OpenType feature by going to Format and then to Font. And then this may take a while until it opens. And then there is the Advanced tab, and you'll find the OpenType features. So you have ligatures, different styles for the figures, and also the contextual alternates. And of course also the stylistic sets, even though you won't see the custom name that's a type designer assigned to the feature, but just the number in the listing. And you also see that not all possible OpenType features are available here in the menu entries. So for example, there are no swashes to to be seen. That's why I always add all the features that are not accessible in this in some applications, also additionally in the stylistic sets, so also Word users are able to use the swatches, for example, in their creations. You just need to know the number they are in. Okay, while you are here in the menu anyway, please also make sure to activate the kerning, which is also not active by default in Microsoft Office applications. The problem, as you could see, is that user interfaces for OpenType features can be really well hidden. That's why actually a lot of designers don't know what OpenType features are or where to find them. So I always do these mini tutorials for my fonts in order to show the user what possibilities the font offers them, what extra characters they can use, and also where to activate these features. And I know that a lot of my colleagues do so too, so please look out for these tutorials if you buy a new font. Okay, I hope by now you are as excited about OpenType features as I am. And I really want to encourage you to explore all the hidden magic that's inside of some fonts. Not only because type designers spend so much time and love adding all these kind of extras in a font and are of course always super happy if people actually use them, but no, also because we do that in order to make our fonts more flexible and to allow you to adjust a font to your specific needs, so you can create a more unique and interesting design that really stands out. So go and use all these superpowers. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this tutorial.